Hello, Carolyn. Good to have you here today. I have a couple of things. I got 3 questions, but it may spawn some more. I appreciate you clearly articulating the fact that agriculture is not a concern of yours. You're a health professional, but the health component is secondary to your focus on Crown land. But that Crown land only focused, I want to dig into that a little bit because, we've got 3 million hectares of Crown land. 13% of that, or 400,000 hectares, is in a plantation that receives rotation of spray. That speaks to the fact that those plantations don't have as rich a diversity in them to create ecological balance. But by ignoring the industrial freeholder and ignoring the private, I'm confused by that because, when we say that we got 400,000 in Crown, if you look at the fact that 37% of industrial freehold is in a plantation that receives herbicide, to ignore that, it almost sounds like, you could walk from a Crown plantation that's horrible into an industrial plantation, but that's not your concern. So I'm confused by that. Because
we know that on public land, when it comes to things that the public owns, we want to see action on that first. We feel that because we own land, or as a public, you can have more opinions and more say on that. It's much more difficult to start telling private people what to do. And that's the reason why we chose this focus. We also know that the 13%, there's an intention to increase that, right, to 20%?
We have no intention to increase that.
Well, anyway, that was written down, and
we actually held the allocation of any future Crown land growth for 5 years.
Well, you haven't published that, but last year, Chris Ward clearly mentioned
we could increase it
to 20
but for you to use the words
25%.
Intentionally are looking to increase it. We are not looking to. We could. But that is not on the stated area. But I mean, is it possible that the folks that have these legitimate concerns and those that grew up here, could it be possible that they are seeing biodiversity degradation in areas that aren't Crown land, and they're raising those issues with you and advocating for that? Like, they're not seeing this in private or industrial freehold, and that's not worth having a look at?
We always check with people when they come to us with concerns. We always say, have you checked that it's Crown land? So we are pretty specific about what we look at and what we respond to, and what our supporters are upset about.
Okay, so all the postings that you have on your website have been verified that they're all Crown land and they've all been sprayed?
We do our best to do.
Is that the case?
Yeah, we do our best.
You verified them, okay.
Well, I mean, when people make a comment, like, we can only verify so much. We've got 60,000 people.
I was just saying that, there's more area in plantation forest that gets sprayed in private land and industrial freehold than all of Crown land, and we're introducing the addition of another 400,000 hectares to be brought into conservation, guided by conservation groups. Mm-hmm. So I hear a lot of information about the fact that nothing is being done, and Betts did a great discussion about the past, but going forward, when we see advancements like that, is that not something that is recognized as advancements and the containment of industry and the expansion of conservation?
5% increase is, of course, better than what we had, but we know that it's still below what is recommended federally.
Well, let's have a look at land mass, though. That's more than the amount of land that we have in plantation forest right now, so that's hardly insignificant.
We also know that industry is getting the best plots of land to do their thing on.
Well,
we know that.
Hold on. Industry is, we have conservation groups that are helping identify and nominate these groups. We've already made it very clear that none of those areas will be entered into conservation if it just simply means they're not good for harvesting. Conservation groups this is going to be legitimate conservation.
I'm not talking about that. I know that there's going to be more conservation, but we haven't seen yet exactly what's going to be conserved. And of course, the importance.
Well, yeah, we've posted all of the nominated areas.
I saw the nominated areas, yeah, but they're not finalized. And the thing is that it is important to have continuous, and I'm sure you've been told that, hopefully, by all the NGOs that you're working with, that continuous habitat is very important.
So, for Mr. Kuhn's point about what's galvanizing people, your concerns are the decrease in wildlife and natural spaces. So, And what you're saying, that in the event that biodiversity and continued ecological development, continued focus on conservation, if conservation is part of the forestry management plan and we see wildlife levels and conservation areas grow, but we still have a forestry sector that uses herbicide. Your concern is the decrease in the wildlife. If we address that, so you're not concerned about spraying, if you see the
We don't
trends
want
reversed.
spraying. Don't try to nitpick what I'm saying.
No, but even in the event that your concerns, which is the decrease in wildlife and natural spaces, if that trend is reversed, then the spray is still an issue, or it isn't?
It's still an issue,
Okay.
because I don't think you're going to reach your goals the way you're going.
Oh, well, I appreciate that feedback, but I guess...
And also, I just want to stress, government only is in charge of Crown land. So, I mean, we can whine all we want about what private industry is doing. There's not much you can do about it.
I know,
So
but
that's
a
why.
public lobby can put a lot of pressure on industry as well as the public as well.
We think that our
so-
government needs to start looking at the Crown land and do what is good for the people on our Crown land.
We agree on that completely. Now, you're aware that we don't allocate land to forestry companies. We allocate wood volume. Okay? Now, in the event that we waved a magic wand and stopped any form of herbicide tomorrow, the wood companies are still allocated that wood amount. Okay? Those are contracts that are in place. So in the event that we did that, we're using the smallest possible area to contain industry right now. If herbicide stops, that footprint will grow. It will absolutely increase because they're still owed the allocation of wood. How would you work to ensure that, I mean, understanding that legally binding contracts can't be ripped up, how would you then reconcile the fact that, ironically, more forestry would happen in the province of New Brunswick and larger areas of potential conserved areas would be sacrificed? So how would you reconcile
on
that?
public land, government can giveth and taketh away.
Well, the court system says that you've
No,
got
I've heard that there was a
situations.
review done, actually, and you
So
know
you're
about
saying
it.
rip up the contracts we have with the forestry companies?
Yes, I mean,
Okay,
you need
thank
to
you.
start from scratch,
Thank
yes.
you.
If they can't be happy, like, this is, again, you're making it sound that you need to keep them happy to give them their
No,
volume
no,
that they
no.
need.
I'm talking about when governments enter into contractual agreements, whether it be stakeholders in forestry or any other different industry, you know, how do you accommodate them with the contracts that you've entered into, while at the same time trying to balance the offset and the dangerous potential damage that you could have to conservation? I mean, the irony is that those allocations are to be filled. How are they going to be filled? We don't allocate land. We allocate wood volume.
I understand.
And as a result...
But entering into this contract was a bad idea anyway.
Hey, you know
And-
what?
Yeah, I know.
I'm
but
not
it
arguing
needs-
that point.
It needs to change. That's what we are all saying. This is not good, and we don't care. We
Well,
don't
that's-
want you to feel pressure to give them more allocations, which is not good for the ecology.
Well, no, I think that's evidenced by the government's halting of any of the increase of an annual allowable cut on Cran land, the moving forward of doubling the protected areas, the doing it with conservation specialists, and ensuring that we are moving forward in a biodiverse and ecologically sustainable way. We can't stand up the trees that were cut, but we can certainly make sure that we do the best with what we have right now. I don't have anything further.
Anybody from the government? Okay. Caroline, we really appreciate you being here today. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the presentation. And do you have any parting words for the committee?
No, I really hope that the committee understands that they are representatives of the people, and that the people come first, and no industry interest should ever come first. And I really feel that the Forestry Act needs to be revisited, and a bad decision made in 2014 needs to be revisited. And, you know, we had a much better Forestry Act in 2012, which was then ripped up by industry pressure. So this really needs to change. And on Ms. Conroy's question, I mean, this is another sign of a captured society. You know, this desperate need, I don't even understand why. We're not going to be sent to the gulag if we don't do what industry wants. We need to change how we do things.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate your presentation. Thanks so much. Okay.